Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the NCyTE National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center monthly webinar. My name is Mike Singletary. I'm located up in the Northwest Panhandle. I'm thinking Florida. I'm from Florida originally. I'm located now in Washington State, up on the northwest corner, just south of Vancouver, BC, and a little bit up north of Seattle, Washington. We're at Whatcom Community College, and we host the NCyTE monthly member. Well, we host NCyTE, and we host the CAE CCNC National Center. So we get to leverage both of those areas. So again, my name is Mike Singletary. I'm a program manager. Stephen Miller, he's going to be the host today. Before I turn it over to him, I'm just going to go over a couple of things, and I'm going to ask, and we'll just get started. So again, welcome. Thank you for participating in today's meeting. Please introduce yourself in the chat. We have people all over the United States who are attending today. Last time I checked, I think we had 32 states, folks registered from 32 states, and Puerto Rico. So please keep your microphones on mute because we have started recording this presentation. Presentation will be available next week. We put all the presentations online on the NCyTE website. I can show you that in a second. Use the chat to ask questions. This is going to be we have a pretty big group today, so it'll be important to use the chat. We'll try to get through all the questions. We try to wrap this up by 9:55 so we can do a little survey at the end because we want your feedback. But if we have to go long, I don't know if Vinny can go longer today, but we'll just keep going until we end. But we try to get everything wrapped up by 10 o'clock. And again, today's recording is going to be on the NCyTE website. Just a reminder, if you're not already a member, please become a member of the NCyTE, become an institution member of NCyTE. Right now we have 49 states and 1 territory. We're working on Delaware. I think we might have them wrapped up, and then we can just say we have every state across the United States. Plus, we have over 8,000 individual contacts. So it's a great opportunity to build community and be connected with like subject matter experts and people who are doing same things, but in different areas. It's always good to have colleagues out there, It's helpful to have friends. So here's our NCyTE Center website. And if you want to join NCyTE, there's the link. I don't know if you can see my mouse on that Join NCyTE at the top of the bar. But that's also where you can access all our membership meetings. So there's a link in there that shows you where all the membership meetings. And if you want to go back and see other meetings that we've recorded, they're all going to be available there. As I said, becoming a member, you have access to a growing cybersecurity network. We have free curriculum resources. Well, these resources are free to everybody, but without your participation and without this community, we wouldn't be able to have free curriculum resources for everyone. And we have conference and workshop opportunities for professional development. Save the date for CyAD. It's going to be June 23rd and 24th of 2026. We just wrapped that up last month. That's one of our key events, but it's a great opportunity for people who don't even have any cybersecurity background to participate in a conference and learn about cybersecurity and how they can integrate that into their curriculum. Other things that we have, cyber conference and workshops. Oh, and if you become a member, you're also eligible to travel stipends and participation stipends and other incentives like that. Because we know it's expensive, we know budgets are short, so we try to help provide some support for folks who have to travel long distances. Again, we are part of the Cybersecurity Centers of Academic Excellence. Stephen Miller is part of that. I'm also a program manager for them. So we help all the institutions out who have the CAE. That's the 2 years, the 4 years, that's the research, that's operations, and that's cyber defense. And now it's AI. We also have student opportunities to participate in competition. So we offer stipends for high school students at different times in different parts of the year. But these opportunities are available to everybody who's part of the NCyTE committee, or part of an NCyTE member. Oh, and this is really important. Become a member for a mentor for a cybersecurity fellow. I'm going to turn this over to Christine Christensen because this is her slide, and she really would like to talk about that. If that's all right with you, Christine, I'm happy to talk about it.
Oh, of course. And I won't take time away from the AI because I know
No,
everyone's excited about it. But I just wanted to take the opportunity while we had people on the line just to invite the community college and technical college faculty for to become mentors. We are trying to prepare future educators to teach at the community college level. So we're asking the faculty at the community college and technical colleges to serve as a mentor. So that just involves you collaborating with one of our fellowship students on lesson planning, providing guidance, and supporting your fellow as they deliver one class session, either remotely or in person. It's completely flexible. We've had rewarding experiences from past mentors, and it supports faculty development. It builds your professional network and contributes to the cybersecurity workforce pipeline and faculty pipeline. There's a shortage of cybersecurity faculty, and that's what this program is meant to address. So there's also a stipend available for your participation. So if you're interested in serving as a mentor, the links there, I'll also put it in chat, or you can email me. I'll also put my email in chat, but it's not a terrible time commitment. It's a great way to meet the future educators of the world, and they're a great group to work with. And I also have a link to a lookbook that I'll throw in the chat. So if you could consider it, or if you have colleagues that might consider it, please feel free to submit the form or email me. We'd appreciate your participation. And thank you, Mike, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Vince, for letting me do this. I appreciate it.
thank you, Christine. Okay, this is next month's meeting. I'll let Stephen Miller introduce this topic, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, for next week, next month on the 15th, we're going to have Maria O'Neill. Maria is the Vice President and Chief Information Technology Officer for Oceaneering International. And what she's going to talk about is how companies from Fortune 100 all the way up to Fortune 500, which her company is part of that, do their OT and IT cybersecurity strategic planning. And so I've known Maria for very many years. I actually hired her at ExxonMobil. She worked for ExxonMobil. She also worked for SunGard Consulting Services in cyber and disaster recovery, business continuity. She was the Chief Information Officer for software delivery at British Petroleum. And she also worked for the several other companies, but American Bureau of Shipping was another one that she retired from as a Vice President and Chief Information Officer. And she's with Oceaneering. She's the Vice President and Chief Information Technology Officer for them. So I think it'll be a good, they cover many different areas from supply chain to shipping, marine security, and all of this. They have some really challenges that she'll talk about. So I'm looking forward to having her come in. It'll be our first actual industry person to really talk about what's going on from a real world perspective.
And just so you guys know, we don't have the registration link set up yet, but as soon as I get that set up, I'll send that out to everybody in the group. We do have this registration link set up, and this is for the September 19th, 9 a.m. Pacific time meeting. But this is education, certifications, and experience. How does the modern workforce survive? So Paul Ruffalo will explore the zero-sum dynamic between formal education, industry certifications, and real-world experience through the use of storytelling and character-driven examples. So I saw Paul is on this call, but he will be presenting in September. And now I'm going to turn this over to, one other thing. Please join us on our Facebook, Indeed, our LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel, and we have, that's our link to the NCyTE website. All right, I'm going to turn over to Stephen Miller to introduce our guest speaker today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone for attending. I'm not going to take a lot of time because I want Vinny to take over here, but a lot of you already know him, but Dr. Vincent Nestler. He's a professor at Cal State San Bernardino. He's helped with the CAE competency project. He's a leader in the CAE community and in AI. And I'm just going to turn it over to Vinny to talk about this great presentation on the AI horizon, how to prepare for what waits on the other side. Go ahead, Vinny.
Thank you. Can I share? I'm going to share, sending a request. And we got that. Okay. Someone else is sharing, so somebody's got to stop sharing before I can share. There we go. Perfect. All right. And I think we're here. All right. So, good morning, everybody. Unless you're on the East Coast, then it's afternoon. Always glad to talk for the folks at NCyTE. For the size of the organization, they do amazing work. They're punching out of their weight class, right? They're doing amazing stuff, and I'm glad to be part of this and to support it. So today I'm talking to you a little bit about the AI Horizon. It's a project that's NSF funded, and I'm going to show you what the effort is. And at the very least, hopefully you come away with some good information, some insights as to how to better prepare for the coming year academically, how to work with your students, and also to give you some resources that you might find useful. I'm also going to hopefully leave you with at least the beginnings of a new skill that some of you may not have but have heard about. And I'm hoping to have some time at the end for kind of a question and answer period. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Vincent Nestler. I teach at Cal State San Bernardino. I'm the director for the Center for Cyber and AI. I work with Dr. Colson there. I'm also the principal investigator for the AI Horizon Project and XP Cyber. Some of you may know XP Cyber. In May 2023, let's say April 2023, I was all about the cyber. And then May 2023, once I got a glimpse of what AI was doing, and it was ChatGPT that was just kind of starting to break the surface in terms of public awareness. Once I saw it, I knew this wasn't like a chat bot. This wasn't like everything else that we've seen where they say AI. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. This was like, it was real. And from that moment on, every day I've been kind of going after trying to understand and wrap my mind around it. By December of 2023, I wound up being picked up by OpenAI to be on their external red team. And that's been an amazing journey. They just finished, the last gig we had was for the agent that just dropped yesterday. You can literally tell this agent, I'm working on this in my lab, go order these items, have it shipped to me by Thursday, and it goes out and does it. Right? Like, so it's taking control of your computer. It's the future is here already. So, and a lot of people don't know it. So the AI Horizon project, just like, the horizon is kind of that line in the distance where it separates what you can see from what you can't see. And we're all explorers in the digital landscape, and we really don't know what's on the other side. And so the AI Horizon project is about trying to figure out where we're going and what's on the other side of the horizon. So, just like the old time explorers were worried that on the other side of the horizon was where the Earth was flat and you kind of went off into the abyss. There's plenty of people saying that. And so we're trying to figure out, well, is it the abyss, or we just have to kind of navigate around whatever the issue is? So that's what the AI Horizon project's about. And let me talk to you about it more in detail. So I'm hoping to cover a number of these things. We'll see. Okay, so the first thing that I want to share, and I think this is something that those of you who've heard me talk before, you've heard me talk about the Shopify memo, but if you haven't, I highly recommend grabbing this because this is the harbinger of what's to come. It's the thing that will give you the impetus to modify your curriculum, talk to your dean about what needs to happen. It's a call to arms, I believe. Shopify is a $130 billion company, has about just under 10,000 employees. They put out a memo, this is a few months back, but the items in this memo are so earth-shattering that it really bears taking to heart and understanding how this impacts not just you, but your students in the immediate term. This is not like, yeah, I'll get to it eventually. This is like, no, stop what you're doing and focus. So here we go. Number one, there's 5 items. I'm only talking about 3. The first one is everyone at Shopify is expected to use AI. It's a fundamental expectation. Everyone, not the cyber folks, not the coders, everyone, secretary, finance, marketing, all of them. So it's not just a domain of computer science. Everyone across the board has to know AI. So pull the stops out just from that. Second, they're so serious about it, they're putting it on the evaluations. So people are going to be evaluated by their superiors and their peers on how they use AI in their daily workflow. Now, the only reason you put stuff in the evaluation is to figure out 3 things. Do I promote you? Do I keep you? Do I fire you? Right? That's the whole purpose of the review. So if they're putting it in there, people who don't, it's not a far cry to say if you don't start using AI, you're going to be let go. And then the last one is the most important one that really, even when I first read it, I was like, yeah, that's interesting. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, no, that's not interesting. That's earth shattering. So the last one is before asking for more headcount and resources, teams must demonstrate why they cannot get what they want done using AI. So what does that mean? Number one, they don't want to hire anybody. They're done hiring. Number two, what used to be the paradigm has gone exactly opposite. So maybe a year or 2 ago, we'd be like, hey, I want to hire somebody. And some knucklehead in the job would be like, hey, boss, I think I can actually get AI to do this. And then the boss would be like, really? Prove it to me. And then you'd have to prove that AI could do the thing that you would have hired a human to do. Now it's flipped. The expectation is anything you want a human to do, AI can probably do it. And you have to demonstrate to me that a human is going to be able to do something that AI cannot. At Shopify, right? There's not everywhere, but this is what I'm saying. This is a marker of where we're going. So not only do they not want to hire, if you do want to hire somebody, you have to prove that AI can't do it, which leads to the thing that I want to make clear for a lot of jobs and a lot of jobs that we're preparing students for. The definition of hireable is going to be your ability to do things that AI cannot. So it's not just let me teach you what's in the textbook. It's not like what we taught 2 years ago. Whatever I taught you then is going to be appropriate and adequate now. I have to figure out how to supercharge you so that whatever you're doing, AI cannot do on its own. You can use AI to do it, and then you and AI are superhuman. But if you just teach the way you were, you're not going to have they're not going to be hireable. It's certainly not at Shopify and other companies like them, which is really kind of the companies that we're targeting when we're pushing them out into the real world. Here are a few lovely headlines to be aware of. All right, Candy Crush, owned by Microsoft. They got all their developers to train the AI to help develop Candy Crush, and then they fired him. Right? Again, sign of things to come. Is that just Microsoft doing that, or are all companies going to start doing? How do we reduce the workforce? Anything I can get AI to do better, faster, safer, cheaper, I have a fiduciary responsibility to implement that. So how do I do that? And the way you do that is you get the people who are there now, train the AI to do what you want them to do, and then get rid of those people. That's just going to be the MO for the economic engine. The post from Sam Altman. Whoops. So just recently, a few days ago, OpenAI's internal model placed #2 in the world for coding. #2, right? So #1's only a few weeks away, a month, it's only a matter of time before OpenAI is the #1 coder on the planet, beating every human. Once OpenAI has a model that's the #1 coder, we're all #1 coders. Or potentially, right? As long as we know how to articulate our vision, we have the #1 coder at our disposal for $20 a month. Right? So think about that. Again, some of the stuff I'm saying, it takes a little bit of time to like let it kind of permeate all the things that you're interacting with on a daily basis, but that's huge. And I mentioned the agent, the ChatGPT agent. Now it's not just a entity in a box. Now it's basically broken out where I could put it on a computer and it's going to go out and do stuff, buy things, do things, interact with the world on my behalf, right? So the ChatGPT agent is now live. And the last thing, just to really get the depression to set in, the spider bot here on the right is a roofer. What I was telling people is, look at all the stuff that you used to do, like, roofing and building and construction, that your parents are like, I don't want you to work so hard, son. I want you to go get a job and become, a cybersecurity professional, and you live in an air-conditioned room and have a good life. Now it's like I was saying, hey, all the things that, they were like, oh, I don't want you to have to be in a hot roof working roofing, even though they get good money. Those are the safe jobs. They're not the safe jobs anymore. Even the roofing. And, this in the article, it said something like, spider bots hit U.S. rooftops to save roofers' necks, right? Like, that's the headline. You mealy-mouthed piece of, like, it's not saving their necks. Okay, my neck is safe, but now I'm starving because I have no job and I can't buy food. Like, I'd rather risk my neck so I could get the food. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing that's going to be happening when they're going to be putting out, oh, AI is doing this and it's making life better for people. On the surface it is, but on the undercurrent, there's a lot of hell, death, and destruction with that. But anyway, all right. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that are not small. These are huge developments that are going to be industry disruption, if not industry replacing. All right, so where does the AI Horizon project come in? So this project is an NSF-funded project. The focus is I have two, I say committees, they're more like advisory groups. I'm hoping that the groups are going to be made up of obsessive compulsive folks like myself that are like, hey guys, come in, I got to figure this out. One is a forecasting group. So I need people doing kind of what I just shared with you. This article, we need to pay attention to. This is impacting everybody. This is not just a one-off thing that's just impacting a small niche. This is something that we have to pay attention to so that we can make sure we communicate that with the community, right? So there's a forecasting group, and then there's a program I'm calling a programming group, which is basically looking at programs of study or programs like, okay, if these are the things that are happening in AI, how do we create programs or curate resources that we can get in the hands of faculty and students immediately so they can learn what they need to learn to be hireable upon graduation, right? We need to kind of adjust and tighten that loop. And then to disseminate that information, and this is one of the venues that I want to make sure I share some of this stuff. So that's the project. It's an eager grant. Eager in NSF is a grant that's high risk, high reward, which really means low chance of success, but we're hoping that you do it. Because we're trying to predict the future, right? Anytime you're trying to predict the future, that's obviously, if anybody could predict the future, well, they'd be rolling in it. So, okay, so what information are we trying to track? The fundamental questions that we're trying to answer are 4 questions at the AI with this project. What is AI replacing in cybersecurity? What can AI do that we no longer really need humans to do? And I can tell you one thing, and it's not something that I'm sharing later, but help desk. Help desk is already done, right? I'm not saying that there's no help desk, but help desk is not what it used to be, right? Even regular everyday people will not call up help desk. They'll go to ChatGPT and ask, how do I fix this? And 9 times out of 10, ChatGPT is going to take you to the promised land by itself without having to go through a phone center. And we're going to elevate you to level 2. Okay, you have to explain everything you just explained for the last half hour to this new person and blah, 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 blah. And then in the end, it doesn't get done, right? What's AI replacing? What is AI expected for augmenting? So everything that we've taught in the past, most of those skills can be augmented by AI to make you do everything better, faster, safer, cheaper. So you have to figure out how to use AI to help you do those things. What are those tasks? What are new tasks that didn't exist before, but now that AI is here? And what skills remain mostly human? Those are the 4 questions that we're going after. And in general, what are the general things that you need to know with AI? How we're getting this information is going to be derived from a continual search for automated engine that I created that I'm going to give you a quick demo on in a minute. We're also using a form of analysis of competing hypotheses. So we're looking at all the tasks in the DCWF. We're having AI analyze every single task and multiple AIs. So I have Claude, ChatGPT, and Perplexity all being asked the same question. Can this task be replaced? Is it expected to be augmented by AI or remains mostly human? And all 3 are going after these tasks and coming up with their judgment and reasoning. And then we're comparing them to see which one, to see which reasoning seems to be appropriate. And I'll show you that in a second as well. And we have folks going out doing interviews and surveys. I'd like to get a hold of Sam Altman, Jensen, all these folks, and kind of pick their brains on behalf of the community so that we can say, hey, look, this is where it's going and this is what you need to prepare for. So based on the forecast findings, so after we get all this information and making it available to folks, I'm taking the outputs and putting this into another engine that's going to look at what the expectations are of the horizon, create prompts, and go out and find all the resources that already exist, grab them, curate them, organize them, create questions and project suggestions, and put that in a resource where either faculty or students can get to and say, okay, I need to know about this thing called vibe coding, or how do I use AI for cybersecurity? And I can go to it and then immediately start doing it and not wait for a textbook, a curriculum, all of that. We can start doing it immediately. All right, so let me go ahead and do a quick demo of the site. And the site is, this is in progress. I'm building the ship as I'm flying it. So bear with me if it's not perfect. But I'm sharing it just to kind of give you a visual understanding of the direction we're going in. Part of that is so that it's a resource, but also I'm open for if people have suggestions. Hey, it'd be nice if you added that or considered this or what have you. Okay, so the AIHorizon.org is the website that's live, but is literally like this could be down tomorrow as we rebuild it and kind of tweak it. The AIHorizon.org, Horizon.com was the AIHorizon.com was taken already. So the AI Horizon is what you have to remember. It's the AI Horizon. All right. So we have a forecasting section. So this is the AI Horizon dashboard. I have this running locally as well as online. I'm going to transition to the local one because it's a little faster on certain things. Here's the dashboard. I have about 383 articles that have and artifacts that have been captured from the internet, videos, documents, websites, right? Or blog posts. I'm able to do these are the prompts that I'm using to use Perplexity. I'm using Perplexity to go out and search the internet. Perplexity, the nice thing about Perplexity is it already has all the API keys for doing searches on YouTube and other research, like other research entities that sometimes when you want, or news, when you want to go to them, they're like, well, we're not going to answer your questions because you have to have an API key. Anyway, using Perplexity, I can tweak these if I wanted to change whatever the prompts are. But so I have prompts that goes out and finds the items. I can also add manuals. So if people come across an article like, then take a look at this. This is huge. I can add it to the database and make it available. All of the items get processed they get read, categorized, which of the 4 questions does it answer. It gets scored for quality, right? Okay, this is a talk given by the CEO of NVIDIA. This is a talk by some 13-year-old that, has a good idea, but he has no citations, whatever, right? So it gets quality scored, and then wisdom is extracted. So there's a really good summary of every item, so you don't have to actually look at the item. And so anyway, processing all the documents, and then we can browse the entries. So here are all the entries. So here's an example. Here's the NVIDIA CEO predicts the death of coding. These are the categories. So he talks about replacement coding, and he's also talking about human only. There's certain things that only humans can do, and he talks about both of them in this talk. It's an excellent score. I can view the extracted wisdom. It's summarized already. Proficiency in AI and machine learning concepts are important. Strong understanding of natural language processing and how it can be used to enhance security. Skills in data analysis and interpretation. He talks about this, right? Support for things that you would want to change and teach. But you might say, all right, I don't trust this. I want to see the original article. There's a link to the original article that you can get to right where it was. So anything that's in this engine that's collecting and giving you some information, you can always get back to the summary of it and the actual original source if you wanted to say, I don't think your judgment or the inference you're making is correct based on the data. So it's completely transparent on how some of the findings are coming out. All right. There's also, let's see, did I pull this up? All right. So there's also an AI chat. So all the documents that are in there, you can go and say, all right, what cybersecurity tasks are being replaced by AI? ChatGPT, in this case, it's Claude, is going to come in, look at all the documents in the database, and then use that question to try and answer it. It'll give you its summary based on the documents and give you the links to the documents to support what it's summarizing for that question. Right? There's a predictive analysis. I don't put any weight in this other than it's interesting to consider. I'm still tweaking it to make sure it's good, but just as an example, industry adoption patterns. This is interesting because, for example, it's saying financial services are probably the folks that are most going to jump to using AI the fastest. Why? Regulatory compliance, so you can automate the regulatory compliance. Fraud detection, I can have agents going and looking at what's going on and try and detect fraud early, and real-time monitoring. Slowest are government and education. Who would have thought, right? But anyway, so this gets taken with a grain of salt. I don't want anybody to think, oh, Vinny has the magic engine. We could just ask it anything, and whatever it says is 100% true. It's on the internet. It must be true. It's not what I'm saying. Everything is a disclaimer. I'm still working on the engine to make sure it produces the thing that we want, and that what it's producing, at the very least, we can trace back to what it's basing those decisions on, right? So this is not me saying it. This is just the algorithm and AI making its best guess based on what I feed it. All right. You can download the data from this. A lot of these things you can print so let's say, all right, so here's summaries. If I go to generate summaries, these are the summaries of the overall findings in each of the 4 areas, right? And I'm going to look at this in a second. You can export this to a PDF, so you could download it and have it to kind of look at. Okay. By the way, this is the workflow for how everything is working. And if I was like, well, how are you doing data collection? You can go here and it explains in detail how the data collection is being done, right? And I'm doing this also. It's an NSF grant. I want anybody to look at this and say, okay, this is how he's doing it. I don't think this method works or whatever. It's up for scrutiny. All right. So the next part, going back to AI Horizon, there's an educational piece where you'll have the educational portal, right? And so the forecasters do their forecasting. The portal takes whatever was forecasted and goes out, tries to find resources, looks at them, categorizes them, quality scores them, and then creates information. All right. So for example, ethical hacking and penetration testing. Oh, well, I'm teaching pen testing. How do I use AI with pen testing? I can come here, go to learn more. And then here under AI and pen testing, these are the different items that exist that I might be able to use in my class or tell my student to do, give some credit to. So let's say AI for ethical hacking, full course, AI and cybersecurity. So I view this. It's already going to create a quiz on the, so here's the summary of the artifact. In this case, it's a video. I could look at it and say, yeah, this is what I want them to learn or not. I can have them do it after it. There's a quiz that they can take. You know, your mileage will vary on the quizzes. I don't want you to think this is top-notch quiz that was, valid and verified. That's something I'm working on. But if you just need a quick and dirty, like just do this, do the quiz, you got that. And also there's some project suggestions. Like you say, okay, you watch this, now do one of these things as a project. Okay. And here's the resource. There we go. So you have AI for ethical hackers, right? So, and I'm still curating this. So this is not, I'm not saying, oh, go to it right now. Everything is up and running. I have to kind of go through it and take a look. But by September or August, when everybody started, this should be in kind of at least a beta that you can kind of sort through and find what works. Okay, so that's the quick, and I have the same thing. Here's a workflow. Here's a methodology. There's also a way for API links if you wanted to suck all the data and kind of put it in your own engine. There's a way to do that, but that's, again, still under development. All right. So that's kind of the workflow from soup to nuts. I have, and this, by the way, this is all vibe coded, right? This is all, I didn't write one word of code. This was all done me telling Cursor what to do, what I need, following a particular process, which I'm going to share with you in a minute, and developing this to where it is right now, right? If I was in the 7th plane of hell and the only way I could get out was to write this code and I didn't have AI, I'd be there a long time, right? I'm not getting out, right? I didn't have the ability to do that. But with AI, I'm able to, which has, again, ramifications beyond what I'm saying for this moment, right? In terms of what we do in education and with the students. All right, so let me take you back to the slides. Okay. So in sum, again, this is summarizing the AI Horizon process. We have a forecast committee. The forecast committee is doing these automated researches. They're curating it. They're finding artifacts in their own, adding it to the database, and doing interviews with folks that are kind of on the forefront of this to get that information so we can process it, get it into the curation of educational resources, and then get that information to everybody as much as possible. So the dissemination piece, venues like this where I get to talk to all of you and share, whatever the findings are. Conferences, any conferences that you think we should go, I have a list of them. We'll take a look. If there's other ones that we need to consider, let me know. I'm hoping to speak to the folks like that do competitions to say, hey, look, these are the skills that we think are going to be expected to demonstrate in order to be hireable in May. Let's make it part of the competition so the students have to study to do that so that they could do well in the competition and then be hireable, right? And then social media, we'll be having a social media presence that kind of pumps this stuff out. Yeah, so CAE Symposium, SFS Job Fair, NCyTE, we just did that. NICE, I just did that not long ago. Maybe the National Cyber Symposium, the colloquium, any ideas that you want to share, please, my email will be in the last slide. Send that to me. All right, so here's some examples of findings. Let's just take a moment and I'm saying findings because this is still new. I don't want anybody to go and use these findings and say, this is what we have to do. I'm just giving you an example of what it's extrapolated. None of it's really earth-shattering, but it might give you some thoughts, right? So tasks that are being automated, anything that's redundant and mundane, usually AI is going to be able to kind of do. So log analysis and monitoring, AI is going to be able to, you can program that and it's kind of doing that. Alert triage and response, vulnerability assessment, right? So I don't think it's doing the whole vulnerability assessment, but you can have AI constantly going around and assessing the networks, scanning the networks and kind of looking at the risk evaluation. And compliance monitoring, anything that's rule-based, AI can also do. And I think, Stephen was showing how he was using AI for working with the CSET tool, right? At least in terms of creating certain things, but also, I think there's a place where you can use AI with the CSET tool and see how you're continuously monitoring, but that's another story. All right. AI and human collaboration, threat hunting, incident response, security analysis, and risk assessment, right? There are many cool tools like pen testing right now. There's a Shell GPT, you just on the command line, I can literally say, okay, I need to do an Nmap scan that's low, slow, stealthful, that's going to scan this network, and ChatGPT, the AI will write the code, write the Nmap scan for you, and then you just run it, right? So that's increasing the speed, that's increasing the accuracy, that's increasing capability. It is also decreasing certain parts of the brain. It just came out. Researchers found that certain parts of people's brains are turning to mush with using ChatGPT. This is true fact. I do think there's more, like, I don't think it's making everybody's brains mush. I think some people are getting lit up and they just, but for other people where it's like, I am a directional and highway moron. I have been using a GPS since 2005 every time I got in any vehicle with a motor in it. And so even though I'm living in Redlands for the last 12 years, I'm still not sure which highway I'm getting on. Is it 210 or 250? Like, I'm not sure what the highway is. I just know I just follow the purple line on the deck, and I'm not kidding, right? And I don't say that with pride. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I could see that that's a part of my brain that relaxes, but it allows me to do other things. I'm always on a motorcycle. I enjoy the ride. I'm paying attention more to the road as opposed to what exit was that, And so there's a trade-off. That's a longer discussion, but just something to be aware of, that as we're teaching, we don't want people's brains to turn to mush. So we have to make sure that we're challenging them with the AI, not using AI as a crutch that makes life easier. We want AI to be more of a pole vault than a crutch. New tasks: AI security engineering, AI governance and compliance. That's a whole new area to look at. AI operations and AI ethics. Uniquely human: strategic leadership, crisis management, stakeholder communication, ethical decision making. This is nothing that I don't think anybody was like, oh, I never thought of that. But those are things to now maybe spend a little more time. Like, ethical decision making was probably the last chapter in your cyber book, right? So maybe you got to it, maybe you didn't. But there's going to be more of that need in the near future, it seems. All right. I don't have time to actually demo this. I would be happy to do it in a future session to say, hey, this is vibe code. And we could do that where a session we say, okay, we're going to do vibe coding. Everybody get cursor, and let's just vibe code something for a session. So vibe coding, if you're not familiar with it, is basically you run an app, cursor, windsurf. AWS came out with Kiro just recently, and there's other ones. You basically, in natural language, you type what you want. You can also use Super Whisper on a Mac and actually talk to it and say what you want, and it's kind of cool that way. Here's the vibe coding process, and I'm telling you this saying, you can do this right now. Like, as soon as we're done, you could go download Cursor if you don't have it and start doing this right now based on what I'm telling you here. Develop your idea. So I would go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I have an idea. I want to create a web front end for my pen testing class that does all of the all of the steps in the kill chain from beginning to end. I want to be able to do that. And then you explain it and you create the PRD, right? The program requirements document. And you jam with ChatGPT and say, this is what I want. And it says, you want this? And it'll ask me clarifying questions. You answer all the questions. And then you create the PRD and you take that and put it into Cursor. Tell Cursor, okay, here's my PRD. Ask me clarifying questions. And it'll say, well, do you want it to be a Flask app? Do you want it to be Gradio? Do you want want Python, Java, whatever? You answer all those questions. And then once the questions are answered, you let it rip. And it will start to create your entire code. And then gives you demos, and then you say, you just go back and forth. And that's where the vibing is, right? You're going back and forth saying, do that. No, fix this. That's good. Move forward, So you're kind of going back and forth with it. I'll have these slides. I'll give these slides to Mike so he can share it with you all. But vibe coding tips: always ask the agent to test the code before it tells you to test it. If the code loops on an error, stop it. Tell it, come up with 5 reasons why this is not working. Choose the top 2 and let's talk about it. So it can get out of that loop. After long sessions, so if I'm doing a long session, I want to have a summary of where it's at. Tell it to write a letter to itself, basically saying, here's where we are in the code. Here's what we need to do next. Here are the problems I have. Good luck. Then when you start over again, because the context window has been saturated, you start in a fresh context and the new code looks at it and says, I see where we're at. And then it starts fresh, right? So yeah, that's and I could do more on that. Again, if we want to do another session on this, we could do like just a vibe code session and come up with some cool stuff. Last thing I want to mention is NAIR. So NAIR is the National Artificial Intelligence Research Resource. So if you go to nairpilot.org, they have resources there that you can use either for research or for teaching. There's a little barrier to entry in terms of you have to write a 3-page thing. You have to add, you have to say how you're using it in the class. There's a certain amount of detail. It's not like, oh, I want this resource and you just get it. You have to kind of apply for it. It's not as onerous as NSF grant applications, certainly. They have office hours and they'll help you with it. But if you need compute, if you need, API keys for doing some research, if you want to try and get AI more involved in the things that you're teaching, I highly recommend taking a look at this and seeing if you can, find anything that you can or would want to integrate. So nairpilot.org. Okay. With the 3 minutes we have left, does anybody have any questions or any comments or anything? I turn it to you.
Any
Vinny,
questions?
this is Dan. I just have a quick question. I think
Yes.
your project is amazing, but a question I have is, are you focusing only on colleges, or are you going to be looking at high schools?
So I'm looking at the workforce. And so how that trickles back to the high schools is, they'll be able to look at the resources similar, right? Like meaning, so I'm looking at the DCWF specifically. I'm looking at all those tasks and asking AI to tell me to answer those 4 questions. Looking at the output of that, that's where the high school teachers are going to have to start to think. So the tough thing with high schoolers is they're 5 years out from being in the workforce. And nobody, not even me with whatever high-powered AI I'm using for looking at the horizon, has any idea what 5 years from now looks like. The only thing I would say is I would be focusing for the high schoolers on the general use of AI to enhance whatever I do on anything, and specifically with vibe coding. That's what I would. That's my immediate knee-jerk reaction for the high schools, and people are doing that right now with their high schoolers. Right there are people coming up with apps from just vibe coding and making 50 grand out the gate with it. So if you have a good idea, people have good ideas. Always had the limitation of, I have the idea, I have no way of getting this idea to come to fruition. I can't pay for a person to do it. I don't know who I would pay to do it. I just can't do it. Now, that's done. If you have a good idea, any good idea, you can start to make it come to life with the vibe coding. And I know that's kind of answering, but kind of not answering a question, but that's
I appreciate it. Thank you, Vinny.
yes, Costas.
Hey, Vinny, great presentation as always. You mentioned 3 AI models, Claude, Perplexity, and ChatGPT. And of course, there are 15 others.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you tell me why you chose those 3, like specific things that the tool can do or cannot do that help you make that choice? Or is it
I'm using the thinking and research model for ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT has a bunch of models. I'm using the one that's a deeper thinker, that's doing a more thorough analysis as opposed to just it's whatever it spit out from its model. Claude, same thing. Those are the 2 top frontier models right now. I mean, unless, but that's always changing, right? Grok's the best. Oh, Gemini came out, so, but those are the 2 frontier models. And then Perplexity is just very good at scouring the internet to analyze and do its model is good, but its information is more current current events based for its, so that's why I chose those three. And those are really the, one of the limitations is those are the models I'm most familiar with and that I use the most. I certainly look at, like, I'll look at Grok and I'll look at Gemini and some of the other ones. They're good, but I feel like these three are really the ones that, in my perspective, I'm happy to use other models too, but that's what kind of went into it.
Thanks, Vinny.
Okay, we're just about out of time, but we have a time for another question.
I'll stick around at the end if people want to jam after that. If you have to, share some information, people want to do the survey, you can do that, and then I'll stick around and I'll talk for a little bit if people want to do that also after.
So I have Chat RTX, which are you familiar with it?
Yes, that's the NVIDIA local on, when you have an NVIDIA card, you could do that. Yeah, I love local models. Local models are what's going to save humanity. That's one of my personal beliefs.
I agree. So getting the LM, the learning module data in there is a little bit more work, I think, but that's what I've been trying to do on my side.
I'm happy to jam with you on that as well. So, just let's chat and I can give you some tips.
And also, are you still recruiting people to help do some of the research?
So yes, thank you for bringing that up. So if you're interested in being part of the AI Horizon project, email me at that email and my assistant at that email, just in case you want to email us both, because it's possible to slip by me. She'll keep me honest. If you want to be on the forecasting committee, by the way, when I say forecasting committee, it's not a group of people that meet once a month, talk, eat Doritos, and then go away for a month, right? I need obsessive, compulsive, paranoid, constantly on figuring out what's going on. I need canaries in the coal mine for that project. And on the program side, I need people that are like, oh, I love just creating stuff. Let me create or let me just, that has to be your natural instinct to do things. There will be no shortage of stuff for you to create that people will use immediately, or even just to curate what we already have. So if either of those things sound interesting to you, rather than, oh, that's too much work, I wouldn't like it, or it's like, oh, I finally have a venue to allow my compulsive nature to have some value, then please email me and let me know. That would be, we'd love to, loop you in and see how we could use your talents.
Maybe Mike can put those email addresses in the chat. Because we're not seeing your presentation.
Oh yeah, you're on the wrong screen. Then everybody should be seeing my presentation. No, I'm sharing. Who doesn't? Is there anybody see it?
Oh yeah, I can see it. You just have to switch tabs. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to switch tabs. Zoom pulled a fast one on you. Now it's tabs between seeing.
I got you.
Yeah, I know that happened at the last one.
I got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Also on dissemination, if somebody's like, hey, I want to, I'm happy to do conferences and talk about this and try and get people, evangelize people and say, hey, get your students to learn this stuff. That's fine too.
So you mentioned the CSET tool. So when I was at the NCyTE, I talked with the Idaho labs, and they're going to develop an API to the CSET tool. So the simulator that I've been working on will be able to go in and actually do the risk assessments via however you want to tell it to do it through ChatGPT, the way I have it set up right now.
Exciting. That's awesome. So Steve, Mike, did you need to give them the link or something for the session, or because I don't want to yap if people need to focus on something else?
I had it up there for a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
And
okay,
I put
so
it in the chat.
Okay, then I know some people probably have to go. If there are any other questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, this is still an early, out of the gate project. So if you have some good insights or ideas, please feel free to share it with me. But I do want to say this just to kind of send the message home. I am not a coder. I'm not a coder by any stretch of the imagination. I coded a long time ago. I had a minor in computer science, when we were doing Pascal. Pascal. Um, I know some Python, but I haven't coded anything. But my project, I would have paid somebody thousands of dollars from a grant, of course. I would have paid somebody thousands of dollars to build this, right? And I built it in record time. I built it at a speed that a person just coding couldn't have completed it in the time that I completed it in. So I'm telling all of you, you have the same ability that I have. There's nothing that I brought to the table that you couldn't bring to the table similarly. We have different domain knowledge, but if you have a special knowledge about how the trains work in Maryland, and you're like, man, why don't they do X, Y, or Z? You could write a program that will help that out because you understand that domain knowledge. I'm just using that as an example. But whatever it is that you do, you could vibe code it and bring it into manifestation.
There was questions about the PowerPoint. It'll be available.
As soon as I'm done here, I'm going to email it to Mike, and he'll get it. He'll make it available to you all.
Through NCyTE, yeah.
Yeah, we have all the recordings and recording materials will be available on the membership meeting. And if you haven't already finished or filled out that survey, please do that because we are NSF funded and we need your feedback, not just to improve this, but to show that the NSF, the work that we're doing and the value that we're adding into the community. And it's important for us. We're building a community here. As we continue to build it, we really want to hear your feedback. So thanks again for attending today. I'm not sure if anybody else has any more. Vinny, if you want to keep going,
I'm gonna yap. You guys could drop off. I won't feel I won't be offended.
Okay.
Here's my actual cursor for the AI Horizon project, right? So I'm at a good point here. I'm gonna just basically say, okay, what suggestions do you have for further improvement of the app? And then I'll let it cook on that, and then it's thinking. And I'm using Claude 4 Sonnet. Claude 4 Sonnet, it's just unparalleled in terms of what it can do for coding, and things are only getting better. So high impact near-term improvements, advanced dashboard and executive intelligence, enhanced data intelligence, AI-powered insights engine. We kind of have that already. Advanced export and sharing, right? So maybe there's other ways to export this. That sounds good. Research and academic enhancements, citation management, peer review workflow. Yes, that's what we need, right? So I can have people kind of analyze the what's going on. So I like that. That's probably something I'll add for the future iteration. Advanced DCWF intelligence, career pathways, visualization. Okay, here's the pathway you want to take in terms of the skills you want to learn to do. So these are all great that will enhance this project. And it came up with these ideas instantly, right? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was wondering about the high computing power, like supercomputers, and if you use those technologies, how much faster would this go? And I'm working. NCyTE's kind of partnering with BRICS to bring research to community colleges, but that whole organization working with R1 and R2 schools are always talking about how they're doing this research and the processing power that they need, and so have you thought about that? How that is going to impact in the future?
Yes-ish. So it depends on what models you're using and to do to do what. So for example, and I don't know why this is, Macs Apple is so far behind in AI. They're so like not even on nobody's thinking, oh, what about Mac? What about Apple for AI? They're so out of touch, but they have the best machines for local inferencing. So on my MacBook Pro, if I have 128 gig of RAM, I can run some of the largest models smooth on my Mac. I don't know why they're not advertising that. They're not as good as NVIDIA chips, but they're much better than NVIDIA, because NVIDIA, for you to get a 24 gig of RAM, that's a 4090, and that's still very limited as to what models you can run. So I say that to say, if you have the inferencing power, there are local AI models that already exist, like DeepSeek, or the 1776 version of DeepSeek that's depoliticized, supposedly. There's a model that just came out called Kimi K2 that's supposed to be very good at thinking, very good at coding, on par with Sonnet. So you could run those locally. I can't run them on my Macs, but if you have a decent inferencing server, you can do that, and it's reasonable. And that's also why I'm saying local models are what's going to save us, right? Like, and if I'm getting too philosophical on this, people can kind of rein me back in. But one of the issues for kids growing up right now is they're all growing up with AI. But I don't want my kid growing up with ChatGPT AI, because I don't trust ChatGPT. I don't trust any of them. And further, I can trust them right now, but I don't know if things change tomorrow, something politically happens, whatever, and then they modify the model. So now it's taking my kid, whether overtly or covertly, down a path to whatever belief system they want, or belief system that it just winds up going towards, to get my kid to think a particular way that I didn't see coming. If I have a local model, at the very least, that model doesn't change. I know how it's working. I know how it's interacting. I can kind of predict how it's going to answer certain questions. I can keep track of it. And also, no corporation has its grubby paws on my kid's mind or soul to figure out how to control them, manipulate them, or influence them with all the information that they've gathered, that even Google can't even come close to approaching in terms of data sets, right? So I really think, as much as I love and work all with the big models, I'm constantly looking at the local models and seeing how they're performing and using them to the extent that I can. I don't know if that helps, but yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns, moans, groans, aches, pains, rashes, anything at all?
Hey, Vincent, this is Andrea Barrios from Coastline. I put this in the chat. I was curious what, we have a bunch of Macs at our school, and I was just wondering what local AI models you're running.
What are they? M chips?
I believe so. I would have to look.
Okay, so if they're M chips, all right. Okay, give me. All right, I'll give you the very quick but useful example. And then back to share. Okay, so what makes Macs so good at what they do? Macs have unified RAM. So it's one RAM, but it's used for video and for system. Whereas PCs, most computers have system RAM and video RAM. Because it's unified RAM, it means I can allocate larger portions of RAM to models. So the big limiting factor on an M chip is how much RAM you have. Now, usually if a school buys Macs, they're expensive and they're always gonna cut costs, and usually the cost they cut is on the RAM side. So if it's 8 gig, you're kind of limited. 16, you're doing a little better. 32, you're cooking. So what do I look at Ollama. Ollama's probably the best. It's arguably probably the best app for doing inferencing. It's a command line tool. I can demo that too as well. But there are many very easy, low impact web GUIs. So, for example, so this is running on my local computer right now. And these are all the models I have locally that are local models that I can choose from to answer any question. Why is the sky blue? I'll let that run and I'll come back to it. So Ollama, if I go to models, these are all the models that exist. If you're looking at running models locally, so here's the loose formula. This is not exactly right, but it's close. If a model, let me see, let me give you a better example. All right, so Devstral or Magistral is 24 billion parameters. If I look at the model and I look at the parameters, 24 billion parameters, and I look at the quantization. So quantization is kind of like compressing, kind of like if I take a raw image of a picture, I can have raw and then I can have JPEG. JPEG will compress it. I can still see the image. It still looks good. But if I drill down, I can see the pixelation, right? So quantization is kind of like that. If I have a 24 billion parameter model, if I do the full size of the model, uncompressed, and in that case, it would be, we call FP16, it's about double the size of billions of parameters. So if it's 24 billion parameters, it'll be 48 gig. If I do 8-bit quantization, it's about the same size. So it's 24 billion, 25 gig, it's about the same. And 4-bit will be about half. This is a little more than half, although KM makes it a little bigger. It might be a little, but so I'm telling you that formula to say, okay, you have to look at how much RAM you have on the Mac. And let's say I have 32 gig. If I have 32 gig of RAM on the Mac, I can probably run the 8-bit, and I might be better off just running the 4-bit quantization, which is 14 gig, and that'll give me some room for other things and whatnot. So that's kind of how that's how you would go about it for the most part. Does that answer your question?
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So
Sure.
when you can ask you another question.
Yeah.
So
No, this is open forum. Jokes, anything. You got it.
You showed the local models that you're running on your system. So what would be the hardware that you are running on your system to be able to host that many models?
So I'm on a MacBook Pro. So the MacBooks with the M chips, their RISC chips, their ARM chips, they run inferencing, unbelievably better than Intel. So your Intel chips are your bottleneck. So, so I'm running a MacBook Pro. This one I think is an M2 Pro Max with 128 gig of RAM. So it was a sizable purchase, but I got it. That's what grants are for, right? So you can get the toys to do the things you want to do. I have a Mac Studio. So, which is basically a low-end server. So I have, let's see, Mac Studio, M3 Ultra. See if it'll take me there. So the Mac, so the Mac Studios, if you get it maxed out, you can get them with up to 512 gig of RAM, up to 512 gig of memory, which means you can run DeepSeek. You can run the really huge models you couldn't even dream of running on a PC, or even on some servers, right? It doesn't run, it's not blazing fast, but it runs. So if you wanted to do some research, like to say, can I trust DeepSeek? Well, how does DeepSeek react? Can I put this in the automated tool and just have it run indefinitely in the background, where it's doing research and deep thinking, and you could do that without having to pay whatever the API inferencing costs would be if you did it, which is not necessarily expensive. But I also bring up the Macs, because aside from them being very good at inferencing, there's no server comparable for power consumption. If I were to try and get 512 gig of VRAM running whatever H100s to get up to the 512, even though it would be much faster on the NVIDIA chips, the power consumption would be 20 times higher. Right? So yeah. That answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Thanks for this fantastic presentation. I'm going to send you an email separately.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be great to get involved. Thanks.
For what it's worth, just so to give some perspective to my insanity, I wholeheartedly and totally believe that we are all special people living through a time unlike any other time in the entire history of the planet. And I'm not kidding. That's not hyperbole. I'm not kind of overstating it. I believe we're living through a moment in time that is unlike any, it's bigger than the advent of fire, the printing press, the silicon chips, gunpowder, whatever. We're living through a time that's so transformational that our whole economic system might be completely broken, right? The capitalist model, capital and labor are the same thing now, or becoming the same thing, right? If I have a robot AI, that's my labor, and I own the robot, that's the capital. The model is the whole economic model is broken now, possibly beyond repair, right? Because now labor has nothing to bargain with me, right? A human can't say, hey, I'll make your widgets. I'm like, why would I pay you to make the widgets? I have a robot that does it, doesn't have union, doesn't go to sleep, doesn't argue with me, doesn't have sick days, etc. Right? Why? You have nothing to offer me. Go away. So that's something to think about, right? And as AI approaches infinite ability, it's also approaching zero cost. Now there's a cost, the electricity and stuff. But if it's approaching infinite ability with, approaching zero cost, and yet, by the way, the nuclear power plants they're building are to create the new models, not to necessarily run models for an individual. But anyway, so we're going through a time where people are going to have to figure out these massive questions, like how do we redo our economic system in a way that's going to make sense? New York State just recently passed a law saying if you fire people you have to explain, did you fire them to replace them with AI? You have to report that to New York State, which I believe is the precursor to the AI tax. Right. So like, let's say I get rid of all my developers. I was paying them 100,000 a piece. I got rid of, 20 of them. Don't be surprised if there's an AI tax where 20% of what you now do, what you used to do is like, okay, so now you have 20,000 a piece that you have to pay the government.
Right.
Why? Because I've got to feed those people now. So we need universal basic income for all the people that are going to be out of a job, right?
Like Social Security and everything
Right.
that's not going to be put into.
And like, you want to use your AI and not hire somebody, you have to pay the tax. So at least we have to give them money, or else nobody's going to buy the thing that you're creating anyway, right? Now, by the way, this is just me sharing with you the distillation of me kind of digging through all this. It doesn't mean it's correct or accurate. I'm just sharing a musing with you that you can think about and come up with, whether you think it's true or take it a different direction. So I don't want anybody saying, oh, the end is here. Nestler told me. I'm like, no, I mean, maybe it is, but I'm not saying to, sell the house and go live in the woods. Although that's not a bad idea.
Well, great. Well, thank you for everything.
Yes, my pleasure.
Very good. Well, I'm going to, I have a meeting with the BRICS organization this afternoon. And
BRICS?
BRICS, yeah.
Yeah, tariffs, man. Trump's going to tariff you if you do the BRICS thing.
No, this is not the same BRICS. This is
okay.
This is bringing research to community colleges.
Oh, I thought it was Brazil, whatever, Russia, India, China, whatever.
We just came back from Alexandria. We had a conference there where it was basically a workshop where we talked about basically data analysis and research and supercomputing, along with AI and cybersecurity. So we had both community colleges and let's see, we had R1 universities there, as well as community colleges and government. And it was, of course, being in Alexandria, we had the NSF folks there. In fact, the head of the pilot for the NAIR, she was there from NSF promoting the NAIR. So it sounds like maybe we need to get you together with some of these folks.
Yeah, happy to I'm happy to work with anybody on this. Like I said, I don't want to miss a moment of this special time in all of human history, right? I want to try and, do my part. And in this case, it's helping people navigate how to maintain, at least in the short term, being hireable upon graduation, and kind of help professors. I think that's my contribution right now. But I'm happy to work with anybody and help them along the way to figure out, what to do at this point in time, and not just let it happen to us, but kind of figure out how to be part of it. I'm not kidding when I say I think local AI models and curating them and figuring out how to get them to do what you need them to do is going to be kind of it's the whole Terminator 2 thing, right? You get the lesser capable models supposedly, but you work with a human, and together you can be superior to even the best AI. At least that's a theory that I'm going on. I call it the Kasparov hypothesis, because Kasparov kind of Kasparov made that.
I'm trying to do that with Chat RTX. So.
Yeah, so let's talk sometime about it. I'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Okay.
All right. If there are no other questions, we don't want Stephen to be late to his BRICS. But feel free to reach out if you have any thoughts or want to chat about anything.
Okay.
Thanks again for everybody for participating and listening to me yap, and see you until next time.
We'll have you back. We can do that demo.
Yeah, it'd be more of a workshop. I'd be like, everybody come with the coding, and we'll walk through creating some code together.
Okay, well, we'll work that as an NCyTE workshop.
Cool.
I'll follow up with the leadership team.
All right.
We'll do
Happy
Great.
to do that. All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Great
everyone.
job, Vinny.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Bert.
Have a safe
All right.
trip, Michael. Have a safe
Hey,
trip,
thank
Michael.
you. I'm going to go pack now.
He's going to England.
Yeah, all right. Hey, say hello to Tony. Will be there, and so will Zoe.
Yep. Amy.
Yeah.
Annie.
Fantastic.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, folks.
Take care.